Hello and welcome back to another episode of Track Talk. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. Doodle Noodle. How are you doing?
Doing good, thank you.
Awesome. And we will be covering Mr. Doodle Noodle's whole library of tracks today, all five of his beautiful creations. So, without further ado, let's get into Too Far Away. So, this was your first track, I believe?
Yes,
And
it was.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that really struck me when I first came across this track was just how well you reflected the atmosphere created by the song. Like,
Yeah. Sorry, what?
go ahead.
Um, yeah, when I created this song, when I created this track, uh, obviously, I actually didn't really do any kind of like line writer work before this one, so I was kind of just sort of like jumping into it. Um, but when I came across the line writer JavaScript version, which is the one that I'm using right now, I was really happy with that one because I found out that you could sync music with it. And uh, when I when I was looking for a song, I was trying to find one that was in my music library that was kind of chill, but also was uh, kind of captivated the feeling, the original feeling, I guess you could say, of that line writer brings, which is a slider. And a slider in your imagination, pretty much, on a blank canvas.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets that across. It's very dreamlike, almost like a kind of uh, like a kind of dream landscape.
Yeah.
So, what would you say inspired that style? Is it just you trying to match the theme of the track?
Um, when I made this track, I wanted to make something that was relatively simple, but also would work well as a decoration that could be uh, used for a elongated amount of time without from creating sort of like a more satisfying trance feel instead of a boring, repetitive kind of a feel.
Yeah,
And I felt like the just simply doing trees and some simple rocks and also some floating islands was probably the easiest way to do it. And also, one thing that I really liked was how the line was making sort of like the lines highlighted that the character actually goes over
yeah, yeah. Helps
to,
to
as to sort of like
yeah. Go on.
it kind of makes the viewer anticipate uh, where the sledder is going to go, essentially. And I really like that.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a great sense of anticipation and a kind of satisfaction that you get when you see this. I mean, this is probably, I think, possibly my favorite example of really minimalist scenery, just because of the way I don't know. It almost reminds me of something you might see in like a Dr. Seuss book or something, where everything is just like these
Oh,
kind of nice, curved, but simple yet integrated landscapes, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So, one thing I was curious about is what was your method with syncing here? Did you pay attention to syncing, or was it more
Sinking.
atmospheric, just to like match the feel of the music, or did you have
That is a
like?
good,
Go ahead, yeah.
yeah, that's a good question. When I created this track and also my other tracks, uh, one thing that it was really simple actually. What I just simply did was I took the parts that kind of stood out in each like segment, and then kind of like try to envision what they would look like if they were part of like a roller coaster, or if they were just sort of like drawn. It's sort of like as if you were to take a piece of paper and then you were to close your eyes and then just draw whatever you listen to. I remember that was an art practice that, like a good art exercise that they do in art school. I mean, in like art classes.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, actually, maybe we could see a quick example of that. I don't know if the
A quick example.
sure, I don't know if the if you hit play, will the music come through? It should do.
It should. Let's say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it right now. Does that work?
No, it's totally silent, but
Dang it.
it doesn't really matter too much. If people watching this want to see, all these tracks will be linked in the description. So if you want to see examples of how this works, just go watch all of Doodle Noodle's tracks. It's well worth your time. So one
Yeah,
question,
that's frustrating that it doesn't work
yeah, like,
with sound.
are you doing this via your headphones?
I mean, I do have headphones connected, but I don't think that's the main issue. Maybe it's because the sound.
Because
Actually, I don't
when it's
know.
what the way we have it set up sharing right now, it should actually allow us to hear the music. But I've only ever done this with people that use LRA, so this is my first experience with using, I guess, Google Chrome.
Hmm.
Well,
I'm looking. Hang on.
yeah,
What if I turned up the vol? Oh, there's a volume thing. How about this? Do you hear that?
nope.
Dang it. Let's say, yeah, it's a little bit. Maybe change windows. What if I did like my entire screen? Maybe that will do it.
You can
Oh, are you?
try, but if you do that, then the sound will not come directly through unless you take your headphones out,
Oh,
because
okay.
it'll only be picked up by your microphone then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, because it looks like. Are you live streaming this?
No, I can edit all this out in post.
Okay. I'm just looking to see if there's anything I can do. Entire screen, applications, sound. The sound is toggled on,
You could
but
try turning up your sound. I have had once before where for some reason it was just extremely quiet.
my sound is at 40%. Maybe if I turn it up to max.
Yeah, and then if you want to stop my voice deafening you, well, actually, let's just see if it works. No, like that's still I don't hear anything for some reason.
Dang it. Okay.
How
That
frustrating.
is.
I mean, the only other way to do it is if you do share entire screen, you take your headphones out, then it will play sound, but that means that the sound that I hear is then picked up from your microphone, so the sound that I hear comes out pretty garbled, so it's not like the best quality.
Let's see. What if I tried this? Do you hear it now?
No,
Bloody. Um. 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 Yeah. Okay. Mute. No. Screen share. Hmm. Maybe it's connected to only.
I have a solution. Just open it in YouTube.
Hmm?
That might
Chrome.
work. No, I wouldn't bother trying Chrome. Chrome does not like being shared in this method. But if you just go
Okay.
to YouTube and open the track, I might be able to hear it from that.
YouTube.
Well, yeah, where you have
Okay.
it posted on
Let me
your
try it
channel,
out.
right?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's see. And then if I go to this one and then I go to the more high quality one.
And then turn up your YouTube volume to the max. See if that works. Nope. It doesn't seem to like
Hmm.
sharing sound at all.
Huh, that
Now we've got a bit of a lag spike. Are you still there? Hey, I think you're back.
what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, that was weird. All right. I guess yeah, I guess it probably isn't best thing to talk about synchronization at the moment because we can't
Well,
really do that.
to be honest, we could still talk generally. Like, we don't have to show specific examples every time we talk about sync. After all,
Okay.
like like anyone watching this is free to, of course, watch the tracks themselves. So it shouldn't be too much of an
Okay.
issue.
Okay. Also, maybe I could have the tracks playing while we're talking about them.
Sure,
Maybe I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It gives the audience something to watch while we talk.
Okay.
So I'm going to give 2 seconds of silence for editing purposes, and then I will ask you the next question if you're cool.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. So probably the last question I ask about each track is during the course of any creator's kind of project, many of us have little parts that we don't like, that we aren't satisfied with. So looking back on this track, do you have anything that you think you might change?
Huh. That's a good question. Personally, I kind of like how it all played out because
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just sort of like even though I kind of like that it's not even if there are any kind of like imperfections in it. I'm kind of fine with them being there because it kind of helps emphasize the mood and kind of idea of this of track. I guess you could say is that
Yeah.
it makes it kind of feel yeah, I don't know. If going through like revising it through multiple iterations, kind of can sometimes produce problems. Um, yeah, it's not sure.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess, with this very dreamlike atmosphere you've got going on here, like things don't need to be super precise or realistic, shall we say.
Yeah, true.
So, unless you have anything else you'd like to say about this track, I guess we'd probably move on to your second track.
Um, sure, why not?
Cool.
Okay, so this one is Hades.
Yes. And this is probably I'm not sure if I almost like this more than the previous one. I kind of can't decide just because like you've done something so unique with this track, and I guess we can kind of play it in the background as we talk, so the audience can get that effect.
Oh, you want me to play it?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean the sound won't come
Okay.
through anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, we can talk as it plays.
All right. Let me toggle the audio so that I don't have to hear it. There we go.
All right, yeah, because of course it still comes through for you. So what would you say the theme of this track was?
Sorry, what was that?
What would you say the theme or the intention of this track was? Like, obviously, we have these shifted perspectives here, which I really, really enjoyed. Like it kind of reminded me almost of like Inception or something like that.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, when I created this track, um, obviously this it's kind of the reason why this one's kind of a lot different from the different but also similar to the first track, Too Far Away, is because uh, the the songs are different. When I created the Too Far Away track, that was entirely based on sort of a simple but beautiful trance song,
Mm,
like some sort of relaxing song. But this level was created um, to a more energetic song, I guess you could say. Because obviously, most people that I've seen usually make line writer tracks that are queued up to either trance songs or are queued up to piano slash orchestral music.
mm,
So I was kind of trying to find, I guess when I was creating this track, I was trying to find a good solution to what this to what would a line writer track look like if it was queued up to something that was not relaxing and is actually more like a well basically like this track song as it is pretty much.
right. So you tried to make it more chaotic, would you say?
I guess that's a word you could use.
Yeah. It's because
um
go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
yeah, the when I created this when I created this track, I wanted it to sort of like emphasize the same kind of appearance that the first track had,
Mm,
but I kind of wanted to give it some sort of interesting twist to sort of adapt it to uh, what the song that this one uses emphasizes pretty much. So it's kind of like the same but also different in a way.
right. Yeah, it's one of the kind of strongest parts about this track for me is it's almost like an MC Escher drawing in a way where you have these crazy like perspective shifts that as you watch them, because of the way like the physics work in line right, like you kind of
Uh-huh.
confuse yourself when you look at the images because suddenly like up is down or left is up or and then gravity changes and it's like oh it like gives you this kind of really weird sensation because it like kind of subverts your expectations but like in a really good way.
Yeah.
So it's one of the parts I really enjoyed about this. Could I ask, what's the theme with the little man with the cape?
Uh, yeah, that's interesting. When I created the this track, I originally kind of wanted to uh, create sort of a really rough, vague story, I guess you could say, that could be interpreted in different ways. And the easiest way that I thought I could do that was if I just had a little character that's noticed throughout the entire track. As you
Hmm.
can see, he's pretty much just sort of he's at some points he's standing, at other points he's running, at other points he's looking at the viewer. Um, Not really sure of the entire interpretation of it for myself, but I just really liked the man when I originally created this track, so I decided to keep him.
Yeah.
The Yeah, actually, something interesting is that this track I originally was thinking uh, could have been should have been sort of like more evil looking,
Hmm.
like it wouldn't be constructed out of trees and rocks and whatnot. I thought it would be more interesting if it was like more chaotic, like an entirely different theme. But when I thought about it, um, I just kind of like thought to myself that um, that might not be entirely what I want to create. Um, Yeah, because when I was originally starting to do that, I didn't really get that joy from creating as compared to the first track.
Right. So you wanted to keep the same world, but kind of build upon it for the this kind of differing theme that is presented by the music.
Yeah, essentially. Although I did add one thing just for theming, which is these
Yeah.
fire places, campfires.
Yeah, they seem to appear almost as much as the little man does.
hmm Yeah, I decided to give those a little bit of like just scatter them throughout the track uh, just to keep it interesting.
Okay. And what are your feelings about the overall product? Is this kind of the same as your other track? Like you wouldn't change anything?
Yeah, I'm really happy how this one turned out. Yeah, the it's pretty much the same thing. Is I just am really happy how it turned out, and um, although it's imperfect and it kind of provokes the feeling that I want to change something, then again, there's that sort of like other side of me that's uh, advocating for the fact that yeah, but what would you change? Because it already looks good enough for at the time when you created it, sort of. So
Totally.
why change it? Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I just congratulate you once again on creating a very, very unique track there. I don't think I've really seen anyone explore the idea of. I mean, you know, I'm not the, I'm definitely no authority on all the tracks that have been created, but let's just say this is very uncommon to see people exploring like gravitational perspectives
yeah, true.
in
I was,
with scenery in
yeah,
such a way. Go ahead.
yeah, true. Um, yeah, uh, it was just sort of like a thought that just popped up in my head one day when I was creating this track, and I'm just like, it'd be kind of cool. What if made it sort of like more illusional, make it kind of like interesting to watch
Yeah,
in a different way.
yeah, for sure. It totally worked out. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything else you'd like to say about this track before we move on?
Mm, one day I was really bored, so I just added a dabbing person in the island.
I wondered about. I saw a little green thing, but I didn't see there was a dab inside it. That's epic.
Yeah.
Dabbing on them haters. uh,
Yeah, I did that just for fun. I was bored.
awesome. That's just my new favorite thing in a Line Rider track. So,
So little things you don't say.
yeah. So, shall we move on to the next?
Yeah, sure. Which one would you like?
Um, do you have the collaboration one up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, I see we have the same. I hadn't actually noticed the little man for some reason, but I see we have the same themes going on as Hades.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and I see that it is well named. There's certainly a lot of bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the idea of this one? You kept the same world again.
Um, let's see. Well, when I created this one, obviously it's a collaboration. It was between
Sure.
me. This was all my part, and then uh, a guy who's like a little bit older. I don't think he plays anymore. Is Minor,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think he's not that. Yeah. And then the last person was Arglin, who made pretty much the structure of this part.
Yep. I definitely, when I watched this, I could I could tell straight away which part was Arglin's.
Mm-hmm.
He's the king of the singularity sink.
Yeah, although I actually, in the original one, if you watch Arglin's version, um, this entire his entire section is blank. Um, and when I had it myself, I kind of wanted to give it some sort of decoration, although obviously my theming is like entirely different from most other people's theming because I don't use whatever they call these quirks,
Yeah.
gravitational wells. Yeah, I just never like use those. Um, and I was trying to think to myself what would look kind of cool for uh, decorating a track like decorating a segment like this. And one thing that I really like was I made all the little scattered line bits that were moving Bosch around, like little pixels or squares or whatnot. And then like for example these gravitational areas right here that like change the direction suddenly. I made into sort of like these little grids, sort of, and I
Yeah.
thought that looked kind of cool.
Yes, you had a little square theme going on there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you package those singularities into kind of cuboids.
Yeah, you can see it more in like these ones over here.
Yeah, it almost looks kind of like checkers, I guess.
Yeah,
So, if we go back to the very beginning, I see there was
very
kind
beginning.
of a yeah, what's going on with this little house up here? Because it's kind of
Well,
yeah, because in the one of the previous tracks we had a sort of standalone cabin, but now we have something that's kind of more akin to almost like a hobbit hole.
oh yeah. One thing that I thought was that would be kind of fun to do is have sort of like the same uh sort of like the same features in like every single track that I create. Like for example, what's his name? I don't know what movies he continuously appears in, but there's like this guy whose name's Stan Lee, and he
Oh
appears in
yeah,
like a bunch of Spider-Man tracks or something like
yeah,
that,
he's in like all the
movies.
yeah, because he created the
Or
characters, I think.
yeah, or like the voice actor from Pixar who appears in like every single Pixar movie
Yeah,
as like either a main character or a quick drop by.
yeah, yeah. I think I know who you mean.
Yeah, the one who plays Ham from Toy Story, or I'm trying to think. I haven't watched The Incredibles 2, but I remember at the end of Incredibles 1, he made an appearance as the Underminer character.
Yeah, I think
That
he,
guy.
yeah, I think I know who you mean. I see the guy with like the fairly deep, like kind of sonorous voice that's like instantly recognizable.
Um, I guess you could say that. Definitely recognizable, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how to describe it.
So getting back to the track, is the song named Bubbles and Boathouses? Is that how this theme came about?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the name of the song. It was when we started the collaboration. I forget who asked me if we could do a collaboration or not. Um, but I remember they were asking, "Hey, would you like to do a collab?" And I said, "Sure." Sure. Would you like me to pick the songs? And then they said, "Yeah." And then I basically went through my library and they looked for three random songs that I could like envision as a roller coaster track. That and then I basically just showed them to them, and then they said, "Oh yeah, we all like the Bubbles and Boathouses one. That one looks fun. Let's do that one." So that's how we came up with that.
Huh, yeah. And that's also another theme I'm starting to see with your tracks. You mentioned roller coaster, so mostly your tracks tend to start quite high and they finish quite low. I mean, yes, like they kind of come back up, but like is a lot of your kind of style in these tracks is to kind of follow the trend of gravity.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. These tracks are when I look at when I think of Line Rider, I kind of envision it as sort of like uh, a tool that's made to create roller coasters, essentially. I mean, I remember in elementary school, I came across this for the first time, and I thought, hey, this is a pretty cool roller coaster creating, uh, or like slope creating tool. And that was my first experience with it, and I never really touched it until about half a year ago when I created the Too Far Away track. It's kind of funny because uh, I didn't really think about it that much, but then one night I that thought just kind of like appeared in my head like at midnight, and I just thought to myself, you know what would be kind of cool? What if I created a YouTube channel and then just started making a bunch of line writer creations, and that's when I started making the Too Far Away track, just like that. It's kind of funny actually.
Yeah, totally. So, are there any specific parts of this track you'd like to talk about?
Um, let's see. Obviously, there's the bubbles to add in the theming. I have the same kind of trees and rocks theming. Uh, you were asking about the cabin earlier.
Hmm.
The If you notice in all my tracks so far, I've included a cabin in every single one of them.
Yes.
I also included a silhouetted island, which, to be honest with you, I'm thinking of probably changing as my main icon slash profile picture.
Ah, yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, and let's see. Trying to remember, is there one more? No, I don't think so. But those are the two that always are staying in each of my tracks. They started in the Too Far Away one. You can see there's the silhouetted island right there, and then the cabin right here. In the Hades one, silhouetted island with the dabbing man in it, and the cabin over here. And yeah, they appeared in all my tracks so far.
Huh.
And also another thing, yeah, and also another thing that you'll notice is that all the tracks that I made have some sort of reference from previous tracks. It's sort of like picking up past memories
Yeah.
and bringing them with me. So this is the character from Hades, and then also when I decorated this, it was after I created the 100 line contest track, and this was what the trees look like. So I decided to add one of those in.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I kind of like decided to do that because it was picking up uh, previous memories, and also I'll just go quickly hop to this one for a second. Uh, there he is, right here.
Ah, yeah.
That guy.
So your kind
Mm-hmm.
of world building, which is something I think I picked up on before that we mentioned, you're kind of like slowly, enlarging upon and adding new aspects to the same world for
Yeah.
each track.
Yeah. Essentially,
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's yeah.
yeah, that's totally awesome. It's there again.
Thank you.
It's very unique because I don't think a lot of people that make scenery they're normally kind of one and done. Like a lot of scenery isn't really world building per se. It's more of what I would call like a it's more like Bosch is moving through a painting. But like
Yeah.
this is different. Like it actually feels like you're in like some kind of world. Like there's atmosphere. Like there's this kind of resonance that is in all of your tracks where you feel like you're visiting the same place for like a new adventure, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Um I definitely would affiliate that with the cabin because it's sort of like a home slash uh starting point that all the tracks are like symbolically tie into.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah. So, do you have anything else you'd like to comment on in this track before we move on?
Um, let's see. Uh, I did a lot of I did a lot of decorating for the other segments of the track. Uh, not this one that as much. I just decided to add in a few crystals here and there just to spice it up a little bit,
Hmm.
and also like a little underground pond. And then obviously in Arglin's part, I added in a bunch of stars and uh, made it sort of like look like these abstract slopes.
Yeah, and I like that you had the sense to not add too much detail to Oglin's parts, because that's something a lot of scenery makers don't get, is they add the same amount of detail no matter what the PPF, the speed is, and then it
Yeah,
kind of gets lost.
yeah, true. Because obviously, if I go to like, hang on, if I go to some part in here, I think. Nope, that's past it. If I go to like right here, as you can see, it's moving really fast,
Mm,
and you only have like a split second to see any single part of the uh, track, and especially in this part right here when when he decided to make it jump around a bunch.
yeah,
So I just simply added in quick stars and then a few slopes and then the grids and whatnot, and then I just moved on.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it was definitely interesting for me to create. It was different and but I think I was happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was really quite awesome. Hey.
Hmm.
So maybe we should have done the minimalist track you made first, I guess, because in that sense it was kind of before this one in terms of world building. So should we go to that next? I believe it was called One.
Yeah, one. This one.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of play this while we talk about it
Okay.
because it's
This one's about yeah 1.5 minutes ish. So
yeah, it's quite
let's do that.
minimalist. So
Hmm.
this is 100 lines, is it, or is this after the entry?
Hmm. What's that?
Is this 100 lines?
The uh the actual physical track of it. Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah.
Um, the when I redecorated it, now it's at about 7,000 lines. So I don't think it'll be able to fit in the contest uh, just like that, though.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I did when I came back to this, and I kind of wanted to decorate it because it looked kind of barren. Um, and also kind of felt like a full track in itself. Um, I really the fact that as you can see, it's made mostly of straight lines, obviously. Um, so it kind of made it feel more geometric in a way.
Hmm.
So what I wanted to do was I kind of wanted to emphasize that geometrical feeling to it by adding in like a few geometric trees and also like these zigzag parts in between each of the track sections as to make it feel more simplistic, I guess you could say.
Yeah, kind of simplistic but effective feel. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, do you have anything else you'd like to say about this track? Because I mean, this one is quite short and fairly minimalist. So I'm not sure how many questions I really have for this one. Is there anything you would have
Yeah.
changed with it, or is that the same
Eh,
with your main philosophy of?
I think it was all. I'm happy with how this one turned out, considering that it was based on like a contest kind of a thing. Um, yeah, when I did the actual contest part without any of the decoration, just the blue lines. Um, since I only had 100 lines, I kind of wanted to find some sort of way to uh, portray the kind of same feel that my other tracks have, but still uh, be able to fit into that guideline. And the easiest way that I found was by making it kind of more streamlined, I guess you could say. As you can see, it's
Hmm.
just a, if I zoom out, the entire thing is just a very simple line.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of amazed how 100 lines were able to uh, last for that length. I'm really surprised that the track is that long just for 100 lines.
Yeah, I mean, did you enjoy the minimalist challenge then?
Yeah, it was fun. I say I made this track in about, or at least the layout in about uh, a little less than an hour, and then the decorating itself took about 1 hour.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I tried to make it look as good as possible.
Yeah, I
With
think you succeeded there.
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, this track is fairly simple in the scope of your other tracks, so I'm not sure I already have any other questions for this one. Should we move to your work in progress?
yeah, sure,
So this is Truth and Malice, is that correct?
yes,
And I have seen the what the naked track, but I think you said you've begun to decorate it.
yeah. I've been starting to decorate. I've been busy with other things, so
Sure.
I kind of took a break from it. But this is what I have so far. As you can see, it's relatively the same style. One thing that I am trying is in the more intense parts of it, uh, the I decided to change up the theme a little bit by making it
Oh
sort of like
wow.
an underground mine shaft in a way.
And I see you have a little section where he goes kind of behind. Is that like behind the rock, kind of?
Eh, kind of. I was trying to figure. That was mostly because I was trying to figure out a way to make a tunnel work with
Oh, because he
this
goes
shape.
through the line. Yeah.
Yeah, without making it look like he's about to smash his head into a wall.
Ah, yeah. It's an interesting challenge.
Um, yeah, that was definitely interesting. Do you want to kind of like just play it in the background what I have so far?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so um this one this track um once again I was trying to portray how it felt to me. Because obviously this one is entirely different from the Too Far Away track because it's not a chill track,
Hmm.
but nor is it like Hades, the Hades song, because it's not like a your stereotypical uh, electronic dance music track. It's more of a experimental slash uh, um, emotional track, I guess you could say.
Okay. And is that something you're hoping to reflect with the kind of world building you have going on?
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, this track definitely was when I listened to it for the first few times. It was like really impactful for me, both because it had parts of songs that I really liked, and also because it had a very good mesh. Like it was able to mesh the relaxing part of music with the more heavy part of music. And yeah,
Yeah, I would say the song for this kind of meshes the very best aspects of trance, but it still has that kind of more intense vibe, as you say. So it's one of the things that I love about trance music. I'm kind of a trance guy myself. Is that you kind of get into this. Well, I don't want to be cliche and just say, well, you get into a trance, but like that is kind of like what the music is like, and this song just kind of builds and builds and builds with that effect of intensity.
yeah. Um, yeah, this track is by a person named Intercom, and One thing, and I really like some of the songs because they're able to do that kind of like combination of um, sad orchestral music with sort of like a more violent, uh, more violent electronic music section, and I kind of wanted to portray that in one of his pieces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a noble goal. I look forward to seeing it finished. So I think we've probably. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? Actually, I mean, I think we've gone through a fair portion of the ideas behind this one.
Let's see. I think my main idea that I kind of want to make for this track, when I finish doing it, is I kind of want to make it have sort of like a very vague story as well, with the idea of how, because in the first half of the song, um, it sounds very evil in a way, as in sort of like things are kind of like going wrong, um, and then it just kind of like looks like the loss of hope in a way. And in the second part, which is the part that is playing right now, um, it kind of feels like redemption in a way, I guess you could say, as in like a second chance. Like even the track shape itself, um, even the track shape itself kind of portrays that. As you can see, the this part, it's all just kind of like going downhill, continuously going downhill, and then there's a point where it just kind of like reaches its lowest point, and then after that, it just goes uphill in a way. And also something interesting that I didn't intentionally do, but I kind of thought was really cool is that the end of the track kind of
Ha!
met up with the same
Yeah,
area that the beginning of the track started in.
yeah. But this time he's a little higher up, maybe almost in like a better place.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think that's, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right about this song being a journey because we start out with it quite low key, quite sort of melancholy, as you say, with the violins. We get this kind of heavier mid section, and then it kind of returns again to the theme of the violins, but it's more upbeat, like you said. It's more like, yeah, like I guess I can see what you mean about it being kind of redemption in a way, and in the end, we
yeah,
end up in a better place, so to speak.
yeah. And yeah, on a technical aspect, when I created this track, I never really experimented with uh, super fast speeds,
Hmm.
and this is the first time that I tried doing that, and let's just say that was really challenging. I did not um, know exactly how to approach it, and let's just say that was really difficult, but I figured it out in the end. Um, I don't know how you guys do it, because it's like you guys will make your tracks go like lightning fast. Some of the other track makers out there, and yeah, that was definitely interesting. I guess that like really fast, continuous speed and momentum is what kind of like makes this track unique, but also keep the same kind of theming to it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess one difference I guess how we make a track is a lot of us that use high speeds use LimeWriter Advanced, which is slightly maybe more geared towards that kind of approach to a track, maybe working as in like working frame by frame, that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of this thing kind of just comes with the more you do, the better you get at doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. One other thing, probably the last thing I know, is uh there's partially a reason why I don't use LineWriter Advanced, and why I still use LineWriter JavaScript, even though I know that there's more high-tech versions of doing so, which is that one thing that's kind of like a key aspect to all my tracks that I've made is that when I made them, I kind of wanted to let the inner child, I guess you could say, just work pretty much. I
Sure.
didn't want to. Um, I wanted this to be sort of like a very detailed child's drawing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I referenced Dr. Zeus earlier, so I think you're because that's what your worlds kind of make me think of a little. So I think you're definitely on your way with that style. It's definitely achieving that.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Um,
go ahead.
hmm? Oh, um, yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I when I first created these tracks, when I first created this Too Far Away track, I didn't even look at any of the progress of how what people were making in LineWriter. I didn't know that the entire, like, for about the duration of 10 years, I never looked at a single video of LineWriter. And I still didn't until I uh, really posted this track, and then I started looking at the other ones, and um, just kind of like it was an interesting feeling because when I looked at all the tracks when they had like all these quirks and flings and whatnot, um, it just kind of, I don't know why, but it didn't feel uh, I don't know. I mean, obviously, a bunch of other people are probably gonna differ from what I'm saying. It's just that um, there's something nice about making these tracks be like very simple and not having to worry about how they not having to worry about like how they appear on like a computer, or like or even having to worry about like the technicalities of it. It's just sort of like just going for it because um yeah, it's just that there's something more nice about there's something more captivating, I guess you could say, to me at least, um, with both the tracks that I made and also of the tracks that existed way back, um, like when Line Rider first came out. I think there was like one that was called Skate Park, or like there were like a bunch of other ones that um, had this very simple feeling to them, and they didn't have to worry about gravitational things. It was just sort of like focusing on the fact that it can be interpreted as a roller coaster, or can be interpreted as a snow slope, or can be interpreted as a skateboard park. Um, and it's just that kind of like feels to me what this program is essentially intended to be. And um, I'm kind of grateful that I didn't check out the community, how things have changed throughout the 10 years, and just create a track without having to worry about the norms these days. Um, and even though my track looks a little more simple, or as people from the modern community today of Line Rider. Call it minimal. Um, it's it just kind of, I don't know. It just kind of feels like I'm taking the spirit of the game from 10 years ago and kind of like bringing it back to life in a way. Like it's a nostalgic kind of like reapproach to it.
Yeah,
And
it's almost
yeah,
like a reinterpretation of that. Because I mean, the kind of stuff you make. I mean, 10 years ago when I was a kid at school using Line Rider, I mean, I wouldn't, make the exact thing you're making, but I would make similar things. It would be, kind of mountains and caves and trees, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And yeah, I
and
would say
yeah,
I agree with you on it being the spirit of the game. I mean, this is the kind of subjects that maybe we would get into more in the next episode, which will be behind the lines.
yeah,
So unless you have
yeah,
anything more
of
specific to
course.
say about this track, I think we will probably wrap up here.
Ah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of going into the more uh deep thought process part of how this kind of all works. Um, for me at least. Although I kind of feel like it's kind of important to put that into context, um, so that then it kind of like helps people understand how how I thought through all this,
Mm,
um, essentially, because after all, as I mentioned, um, the first track, which I decided to stick with the theming of it, I made this without even looking at Line Rider before for the first time in about 10 years.
mm.
So to me, it was like a completely fresh start. And that's kind of important to, in my opinion, to take note of when um, looking at these tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would definitely second that, and it definitely shows in your approach to Line Rider because you you definitely don't feel any need to conform to any standards. So we get these really unique and very atmospheric style tracks, which are very enjoyable.
yeah. Because I mean, like, yeah, because most of the other tracks that are made or were made in the past were mostly most tracks when people were kids and they came across this, they were just kids in elementary school and they didn't have any kind of like art experience. They just simply made a very simple, oh wait, that's not the pencil, a very simple like track, and they were really proud of it. But now it's kind of like I kind of like looking at it about 10 years later, um, kind of like taking a different approach to that simple drawing a slope and drawing a snow slope, and uh, that's essentially all it is. Is kind of like um, an interesting concept, and and obviously it stuck for me, and I've been following it for throughout all my tracks, essentially.
Mm, yeah, yeah, it's captivating, quite honestly. And yeah, with that, I think we'll probably wrap up this episode of Track Talk. Thanks
Yeah,
for
sure.
joining us on this episode, Mr. Doodle Noodle.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
Sorry if I went on a tangent.
oh, no, no worries at all. We have all the time in the world here. So
Okay.
with that, we'll end this episode. Join us again for the Behind the Lines segment with Mr. Doodle Noodle, where we'll be getting more into the deeper, perhaps more philosophical, if we can use the word, aspects of Mr. Doodle Noodle's line rider thinking. And yeah, leave some love and hate below, and see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.